Hey there, folks, and we're back with another new episode of Unfinished Business Television, where we're actually going to live up to the title and talk about a television show this week. The one we always talk about that's on Netflix. We're going to talk about the last season of Cobra Kai. That's right, do or die. I am your host, Jeff Galshaw of Unfinished Business Television and Unfinished B2 on social media. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Andre Joseph of AJ Abish Productions.
I am the man who will fight for your honor.
Yes, there were plenty of men who would fight for many people's honor this season on Cobra Kai season 6. I'm going to just give an overall before we go dive into particular parts of this season. As always, this season was goofy as hell, and even though it gets into some ridiculous areas, it still by the end of it makes you cry. For all the nostalgia, all the memories, the journey you've taken with these characters, and not only through the television show, but just through the movies and all. So I give it credit for that. No Larry Scott still.
Yeah.
You guys didn't even give his character a name in the movie. Like, you would rather have the Black Rec Center guy have more lines than, I don't know, here's something crazy. Have Larry Scott play that character or that role. I know you tried to get Hillary Duff, but the schedules didn't match. But did anybody even try Larry B. Scott? That is, that to me is the most disappointing aspect of this season. But this season, manipulative but cool. Do not let any of these directors near CGI though, because Miyagi scenes with CGI. Yeah, you guys need to work with a better tech there because it did not work. And I know this is all leading into the next Karate Kid film to keep it going, but I wanted more with the female villain. And the actual, like, watching the show, you know who actually practices martial arts professionally and who doesn't. Because she, in real life, I've seen her videos. She can kick ass. She's fast. And now we're supposed to believe she's being taken down by Tori, who looks half the time like he's going to trip over her own feet. And Peyton List, great actress. Why does she always look like a porcelain doll? Especially any scene in which she has to cry. Did the guy who played Miguel even care if he was on the show anymore?
When he grew out his hair, he's getting ready for another Blue Beetle. So yeah, I think he was ready to go on.
Yeah, because he just didn't seem that invested in anything. It's just like, yeah, let Robbie take most of the plot. Just call me when you need me. And we know in real life, Robbie and Sam are now engaged in real life. As I've always complained, I think the show should stay with Johnny more instead of always going back to Ralph Macchio's character. It's like, you had 3 fucking movies. This is supposed to be Johnny's story. You were supposed to be a supporting character. How did you become pretty much almost the lead? And, I like that, Johnny now has a kid, legitimately. And that it seems like even Robbie's mother finally found somebody to be with, who's, I guess, stable. Um, it was a little predictable where Robbie was going to go when he's like, oh, you can't get into any college. It's like, I wonder what we're going to do about that. Of course, I'm glad they brought back Paul Walter Hauser for a cameo. I was a little worried. I liked what they did with Martin Cove and Thomas Ian Griffith's character. And
That was like so over the top, though.
have you not been watching this show?
I have, but I'm just like, shit.
where else could it go? But it has. You got to give two iconic villains a memorable death. So, um, I like that. I guess everybody pretty much comes back except for the black girl, the heavyset black girl. She's
Hey, Aisha.
yeah, she still seems banned from the show for some reason. Um, I like the overall ending. I'm not gonna spoil it, but how it ends. Um, yeah, I think they had to end the show because Ralph Macchio is looking like ancient. Chosen's. I didn't like the storyline they did with him. You know,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, I'm like, did what's her name not want to come back and guest star? Is that it? You
But the
know,
way they resolved that was so stupid.
exactly. Because I thought like when we saw her with the younger man, it was obviously going to be like, oh, that's like her nephew or something.
Yeah.
But we never really get closure there, except she sends out, oh, I think we're better off as friends, and it's like, what? It's where'd that even come from?
Hey.
I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, and then this whole season, Robbie being, I guess, not really paying attention because he's worried about Peyton List's character, and then he just has a one night stand with the hotter girl, but she's evil because not only does she have that evil sensei, but she likes social media and marketing. Boo! It's like, really? And they seemed in the second half of the season to totally forget about the little black kid and the Asian girl. It's like they totally disappeared. And I could have used more Hawk and Eli comedy antics.
Mm.
I'm glad they brought their girlfriends back at least. But what were some highlights and lowlights for you of this season 6? And
Well, I definitely felt once season 5 happened, that's when I felt like the show started to jump the shark to me, with all the twists and turns and the rivalries, the constant, like everybody's going to throw down and start fighting. It's like it was cool the first 2 seasons, then it started to get a little comedic in the third, and then it really just started to get absurd by the fifth. So I think the last season was a mixed bag. I think and they were able to stick to landing, and what they set up in the beginning of the show really did pay off by the end, and it made sense that I know you have your complaints about Johnny. I personally felt it really was his story ultimately in the end. It was about that redemption arc that he needed to go from being so bitter about losing the tournament in the first movie and being so stuck in the 80s to now seeing his life advance and expand by the end of it, that now he has like that Rocky Apollo friendship with Daniel, and he's got the baby, he's got everything he needs to move on with his life. And it made sense, I think, from that perspective that he reaches that point, and then for Daniel to kind of come to his own revelations about what he needs to do with his karate teachings. um, yeah, the I was mixed with the Miyagi stuff, with the flashbacks, with the CGI, because there were some times where it was kind of emotional, especially in the second to last episode, and then other times it was just like you linger on this for too long, you start to notice the flaws, and it doesn't feel right. Especially the first flashback that they did of young Miyagi fighting in the tournament, and it's Daniel having to fight. Like, dude, stop slapping me. And like Miyagi then, like, he's like blinking, and then Miyagi's old face shows up, and it's like he's about to kill Daniel. But that was a little too much for me. But that's the thing too, is that these guys who create the show, I think sometimes they lean a little too hard on the comedy, especially when they start getting into all this absurd stuff. Like Eli makes that AI machine so they could do the hit detection thing for Robbie. I thought that was way too far for what Karate Kid started out to be. Stick to the basics, stick to grounded stuff. Now you get into like sci-fi territory here. That doesn't feel right to me. Um, the absurdity of the one kid that dies during the tournament, and then they have to stop everything so that they can now do it in the valley, and that whole stupid shit with the the evil Ice League coach from Mighty Ducks 2 as the head of the Soka, that he has to now like what beat up the one dude on the committee just to get the tournament. Exactly that. What's he doing? Like when they start getting to all these deeper storylines, that's where you start really getting dumb, and it just takes away from what I think Cobra Kai was supposed to be in the beginning, and then I just made it dumb by what I think hurt the show. Way too many characters, way too many storylines. Even the stuff with the black kid and Daniel's son, that kind of got resolved in a very awkward manner in the second half of the season. So it's a little all over the place. It's a bit messy, but I think in the end they kind of had natural conclusions for every character. And yeah, even I have to admit, the death scene for Kreese and Terry Silver was just over the top. And I kind of feel like because the writers have said that they may not be done, they may try to do something down the line outside of this new Karate Kid movie. I would say it's more likely Kreese's death is going to be undone down the line, more so than Terry Silver. But Martin Kove just turned 79, so I don't know. This might be it for him.
Well, my thing is this. I know they had to have an ending, but I was already tired of like when the grandfather told her to kill Martin Kove, and then she finally kills him. Like you could see that coming.
Yeah.
And I was just like the stupidest thing. Like teach them this killer move, and it's just like really, And then they don't even enter the competition anyway. It was like so. Was that just there just so Kreese could have an ending, and then we could bring back Chosen eventually to go sex this lady up? They're like, why was this needed?
Now, you mentioned the Larry B. Scott thing that he wasn't in there, and obviously, as you said, they wanted to get Hilary Swank, and it was going to be tied to the stuff that's in Miyagi's chest, particularly that thing with the pearls that Dale's mother has. That was supposed to be something that was tied to her that they couldn't quite fit in because of her schedule. So you can't get her, you can't get Larry B. Scott, but you get the Asian kid from the tournament in the first movie and fucking Elizabeth Berkley. You have money for that. You couldn't get Larry B. Scott. What is wrong with you?
I would have rather Hilary Swank played the Elizabeth Berkley role if anything. Then I'm just like, no offense to Elizabeth Berkley, but that was just like one of those like, huh? Shit. Why not spend the extra cash to get Tiffany Thiessen?
We're in the same universe now with Saved by the Bell. Like, what the hell are you doing?
I'm like, are we just gonna bring back a bunch of teen idols? Is Corey Feldman gonna have a cameo? Like as the band at the tournament? Corey Feldman.
Yeah, I thought Anthony Michael Hall was the drill sergeant for Kreese, and it was like a totally different guy that looked like him.
I'm like, this is why I'm just like, it's perfect nostalgia television, but like I said, it just showed like it became a soap opera because you just were like, what's gonna happen next? I felt like they jumped the shark soon as they healed Miguel at a D. Snyder.
Oh yeah,
that's what I was like. Okay, now this is ridiculous, and then thus had him have a fight at a house, and the guys were focusing on his back when they hit him, but yet 2 seasons later, him and that Asian kid are cool. Like, oh, thanks for attacking me when I had just had spinal surgery. But you know what? I'm gonna get those frat guys who are clowning you.
It's the same problem I have with the Fast and the Furious. Every villain ends up becoming a ally in the next movie. It's like you don't even. Everybody can just make world peace. It's so dumb.
Well, yeah, because you kill my brother, and I'm gonna be like, hey, of course I'll team up with you guys next time. And not only that, my mom will come along too. Okay, was he like just the asshole brother in the family, and nobody likes him?
I mean, come on, Creed 3. You have Adonis Creed befriending the son of the guy that killed your father.
Oh, there's plenty of problems other than that in Creed 3. I'm sure Creed 4 is coming.
Unfortunately.
But like I said, if you're a fan of the show and you've watched it up till now, you might as well finish it. I don't think you'll be disappointed, but there is going to be a bunch of stuff where you're like, really? you know. And now I'm not trying to fat shame anybody, but do you think maybe that's why Sam wasn't competing as much as obviously she's gained a little weight over the years?
I think it's like the facts of life. They just naturally go through puberty and they just get heavy and then they drop the weight in a few years.
I think it's true, but I'm wondering if they had to write around that was why, like, okay, we're just gonna have Peyton List fight everybody, and Sam is just gonna bow out.
It's kind of like what happened with the kid from Iron Fist. He didn't do no training, so they backed him off in the second season.
Well, the same thing with that whole storyline with that whatever that guy Russian who was working, who was like the big fighter to beat, and his whole thing was he was obsessed with Sam. And then in this like a part two of the season, it's kind of they downplayed that too. It's just like he's just being abused, and he finally stands up to a sensei, because he won't fucking hey kill Robbie basically. Like we already had a death here. Now you want me to fucking kill somebody from hand to hand combat? At least the other one was an accident. This one you'll see like it's gonna be, intentional. And then that whole and my thing, they already did this whole stupid, I've got injured. We're all in the locker room. You did brave because they did that with Robbie before season one. So now you're bringing it back. It's less comedic now. And no offense, even if they did win the thing, cover Sports Illustrated, really? Look, I'm not a big sports guy, and I don't necessarily read the magazine all that, but I don't think I've ever seen karate tournaments, especially the world event happening in the Valley, be the cover of Sports Illustrated. And
yeah, this is like a local tournament. This is not like something you would see on ESPN. Not like Chuck Norris is going to show up. Or wait, wrong movie.
If they could have got Chuck Norris to show up, though, then that would have been memorable. Or even if they could fucking John Claude Van Damme. It's,
Michael Dudikoff. Why not?
Yeah, he ain't got nothing to do. I'm like, you couldn't even bring back Mike Barnes for the last season. He could have been in the stands.
Well, he was in the initial episodes. He was helping to train the kids, and then he fought Johnny.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, we don't need.
Yeah, then he was gone. They didn't show him again.
Exactly, and all this rivalry started over a fucking piece of steak. It's like that's how you're gonna introduce the character because he decided to take an extra piece. And let's face it, that guy was so fit, he does not look like he'd eat extra portions. And so, Johnny, I can believe that guy. No, okay. So if my kid joins Cobra Kai, do I also have to pay for him to learn Miyagi Do too?
That's a good question. Do it pay double the price?
Exactly, or is that just natural? Because Daniel doesn't need the money. So I'm just like, so how's this working? And do I have to buy him more uniforms? If you got your Cobra Kai, you got your Miyagi Do, and So what's the business plan here, folks? Because we all know Donnie's not good at business. And then the stupid, oh, I'm gonna follow you, Sam, to Okinawa. I was just like, I was at that point like rolling my eyes. At least they gave Tori and Robbie a more believable and
yeah, they're gonna get paid
exactly together. And this dude's like, nah, fuck college, girl. I'm gonna follow you to Okinawa so you can learn history. I'm like, so basically, you're both taking, a year off. Just say that. And when she meets some dude in Okinawa, now what, Robbie? Didn't go to school to follow her. And if your mother or Johnny have put some money down for your college, they're gonna be pissed. And now that they have the house, is the grandmother gonna live there too?
I guess so. I don't know. She doesn't live in a nursing home.
Yeah, because it's like, how many people are living in this damn house?
I don't want to say anything racist here.
Well, I'm just saying, you got Johnny and his wife. You got the baby's got to have its own room. Then now, since fuck it, Robbie, you're kicked out. You're making money. And well, you don't have to worry about like Miguel because he went and go chase this girl halfway across the country. There's
Another thing too, I felt like Johnny and Robbie had no relationship in the end. It just seemed like he was an afterthought. It was more about him and Miguel.
well, again, that is a relationship that started the show. So I just feel like everything was an afterthought. Robbie was an afterthought. Miguel was an afterthought. Because it seemed like soon as Carmen was pregnant, it's like that's all Johnny was focused on, really, and kicking that other guy's ass. That was it. And then you even bring back the priest character, who's his,
All right.
and I'm just like, but yet we couldn't call Larry B. What what was there bad blood on the fucking first Karate Kid that he's like, fuck all you guys, don't ever call me for a sequel.
I thought Netflix was all about diversity and checking boxes. You could have had Larry B. Scott check the box.
Yeah, he could have been. He's just angry father. Like, why was my daughter glued in any of this? I paid. You did this to me again, Johnny. You didn't hang out with me in high school. You're not by your dojo. I can see Paul. We know Priest is racist, so it's not like you can put him as the star student. But I'm like, you guys didn't even give him a name.
Nothing.
Damn freaking name. Like he's always, it's like Space Camp. He's always gonna be the black guy. Because you're the only, for California being such a diverse state, you're the only black guy we see in the whole movie. They don't even have a black waiter at that fancy restaurant that Allie and her parents go to, where Johnny's at.
I got an idea for Larry B. Scott. Since Saint Elmo's Fire wasn't a diverse movie and they have a sequel coming out, let's have him be the diverse token black friend of the Brat Pack.
Who was never around during this.
He's never around. He didn't want to mess with the drugs.
He was like, I had an internship at the state, so now I'm back. And he romances Jules. Yes, Jules was kind of freaky.
He probably was the one that knocked her up.
Well, she did like the coke, so well, it's not like you're gonna see him like, well, after Rob Lowe took her virginity, Mayor Winningham wanted some dark meat and found Tyrone. I just don't see that happening.
Oh my God.
But hey, bring us in the writing rooms. We'll pitch some storylines.
Yeah.
So, oh man. So, anything else to say about our final season, supposedly, of Cobra Kai? And
I'm gonna miss the show, but at the same time, it was the right time to end it, and we'll see how this new Karate Kid movie plays out. I don't think they're fully done. There'll probably be like another movie or maybe like a mini series down the line to continue the story.
I'm kind of willing. I'm hoping for, but I'm kind of like, if this is it, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Let the story be done. Because after this, unless you guys are gonna be like John Wicking it, saying like, "Well, we secretly had this plot line the whole time," it's gonna reek of like a cash grab. Even though it's on streaming, but still, it just feels like, why are we still going? What does Johnny's daughter have to learn karate now? Even though she got like all these martial artists around her.
Yeah, don't turn this into Dexter, please.
Or Chosen's gonna be a villain again, working with that woman, and now they're gonna come for Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai. Like, I have been seduced by pussy.
Even the pussy the better still.
I had to help her, and they got to call whatever her name, Kamiko. They got to call Kamiko to come back and be like, "Hey, I'm sorry I dropped you."
I don't buy Kumiko hooking up with a gigolo. That never made any sense to me.
I just think, like everybody else, maybe her schedule couldn't be, so they had to write her off really quick. So they were like, "Oh, let's be friends." Well, I mean, it already was strange. yeah, you tried to kill me as a teenager, but let's date. It's like, I would have figured if you really want to make it a soap opera, Kamiko comes to the States to seduce, I was going to call him Ralphio.
Oh, so she becomes a home wrecker now.
It's better than falling for a gigolo randomly.
And now it just becomes an even bigger soap opera.
It is a soap opera at this point. It's just a nostalgic soap opera with fight scenes.
Oh, and by the way, another missing character that they actually, I had to watch the episode again because it was referred to, Snake. They killed him off screen.
Snake. Well, it's better than the long haired dude who's supposed to be this tough guy who Kreese kills with sudden seconds. I'm like, okay, so you, Kreese, can't even beat, you can keep up with Johnny, but can't really keep up with Ralph Macchio. But you can kill this dude who was fucking kicking Ralph Macchio's ass all of a sudden.
Oh my God.
I'm like, I just hope both of them, Thomas Ian Griffith and Martin Kove, get more work out of this.
Well, they'll do more autograph signings. I don't know if they're going to get more gigs unless there's another VFW in the works.
No, well, not for Martin Kove. Since they kind of killed him. He didn't even have any fight scenes in that movie. But I would gladly take an autograph or a picture with Martin Kove or Thomas Ian Griffith, even though Thomas Ian Griffith is hella tall. So, and then
there was a video on YouTube of Martin Kove at a signing, and somebody gave him a painting of him in a Miyagi-Do gi, and he just like playfully flipped out on the artist.
Oh, you said playfully at least. All right.
Yeah, playfully. No, he didn't kill the guy.
No, he wasn't like, what the fuck? How dare you sacrilege? Wrong. Fuck you. I was on Tangy and Lacey. Shithead. Hey, I'll admit, if I met Thomas Ian Griffith, half of my class would be like, so on One Tree Hill. Or all those HBO movies he used to make.
Yeah, the one with John Lithgow and Tia Carrere. I'd like to know more about that.
King of the World. It's sad that I remember.
Yeah. Had some money behind it.
Hey, we had Donald Sutherland as an assassin in that. So you can't forget a movie like that where John Lithgow literally wears a crown. That's a crown. So yeah, okay, that is definitely a deep dive in the future.
Yeah, if you could find it.
I hope Max buried it somewhere, so you just find it somewhere. And I want to ask him what happened after Excessive Force, since I remember at the time that being billed as like he's gonna be the next action superstar, and then it kind of bombed, but then it was on like Channel 11 all the time. And
yeah, give me like an Expendables movie with him and David Bradley and Jeff Speakman, all the failed martial arts action stars.
Yeah, and as they all gang up against Mark Dacascos. I'd want to know, like, how did John Carpenter decide to cast you in Vampires? And
it's that ponytail.
I don't think it was that hard to find other actors who had ponytails. Sam Elliott, he had some ponytail.
Yeah, but he's too badass to be a villain.
Not really. If you're badass, shouldn't you be a villain? No,
not when you're Sam Elliott.
Well, I just want to know the casting story behind that. And it kind of sucks because then he can't do any martial arts because he's a vampire. He's like, I don't need to do this shit. Like, harass people or bite them. Why not? You want me to do kung fu? You know, this makeup? It's like, that would make no sense in a movie called Vampires. I'd be like, how was Daniel Baldwin to get along with it? Or
James Woods.
I'm sure as long as they stayed away from politics and brown people. How was the deal with John Carpenter? Was he just starting his video game addiction? Was he like using his phone like, don't bother me, I almost got this snake all around.
And surprisingly, he found Chevy Chase to be worse to work with.
That's believable. I'm gonna tell you, even though Chevy Chase, as far as we know, is on the right side of politics, I'm like, I'd still probably might want to work with James Woods more than Chevy Chase. I'd be like, I think James Wood would just be grateful for the work at this point. Anything else to say about Cobra Kai?
Watch it from start to finish. I recommend it if you're a fan. And again, the initial seasons are good up until the fourth. Then it kind of slides downhill by the the fifth season. But otherwise, it's a memorable show. It's something that I had a fun ride with for 6 seasons.
Yeah, I think if you watch it, if you really binge it, you're in for a roller coaster of a weekend.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like potato chips. You can't just watch one episode. You instantly are like, I gotta see where this goes. That's what got me hooked. Because at first I was like, oh, they're just trying to cash in. But then I started watching it, and I was like, I can't stop watching it. Like, I'm only gonna watch 2 more, and then before you know it, I'm like on episode 8. So,
I mean, that's the beauty of having episodes of like 30, 35 minutes. There's like so much that has to be compacted in that a little bit amount of time that it feels like the time just goes by very quickly. Unlike some Netflix shows that are so dense in dialogue, you get bored and you want to go to sleep.
it's like when a Netflix show has like 90-minute running time for an episode. Like, that's a movie.
Yeah, lots of Stranger Things. You make a 2-hour epic. I'm good with that. At least it feels like a summer blockbuster.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that's what I'm afraid of when Stranger Things comes back. I feel like every episode is going to be a movie, sort of like that was the Haunting or the House on Haunted Hill that was on Netflix.
Oh yeah,
every episode was feature length. I mean, they were good, but if you ain't got time, it's like, geez, it's gonna take me how long to finish this?
I got time for that.
Exactly. So that is our farewell to Cobra Kai season 6. Hopefully we'll be able to talk about it again soon if it does have TV movies or completion. But as of now, these chapters seems closed. So it's like a View Askew movie universe. It's like it might be over, but there's room for more. So we bid you adieu on this week's episode. Soon we will obviously be back to talking about movies until, of course, Stranger Things comes out. That'll probably be our next show, unless we find another show to be addicted to. So we bid you farewell and see you next time.
If you like this review, please be sure to like and hit subscribe to be alerted to new episodes in the future.